Hey everyone, and welcome back to BMX News. This is a weekly BMX news show where I talk about everything that happened in the previous week within the world of BMX that I think you might care about. With that being said, let's get right on into the news this week. And the first thing that I want to talk about, aside from that spit bubble, is the fact that Mirra Co, or the licensing of the name, is for sale. So this popped up online this week. All I know is that Haro currently owns the licensing for Mirra Co, and that ends in November. So they're taking offers up until I think May 2nd. And I'm assuming by this next part that it means if no offers are put in by May 2nd, there's going to be an auction on May 6th. So basically, if you've got tons and tons of money, I'm assuming, you can buy Mirra Co or license the name. Mirra Co, if you couldn't tell by the name, was started by the legendary Dave Mirra. And if this gets put into the right hands, this could turn into something extremely awesome. The name has transferred owners several times throughout the years, and it would be pretty cool to see it come back as a legitimate bike company. And there are some numbers that were presented with this that are on the BMX Union page for this that say that there were 1.6 million total BMX riders in 2012 versus 3.44 million BMX riders in 2018. That is a huge jump, assuming that these numbers are true, which I really have no way or don't know how to verify whether or not they are. Either way though, that is a huge claim with over 100% growth on BMX in the last 6 years. That's insane and really good to hear, and it kind of makes me wonder where this whole BMX industry is in a slump stuff comes from, just because if there's twice as many people riding BMX, how can it be in a slump? I'm not in the industry, so I don't really know, but let me know what you guys think of all of this, because it's kind of a lot to take in and there is a lot of information with it. There's a link in the description below to everything that I've talked about, as well as you can find some more links to some more information about it in the links within the article that's posted on BMX Union. So let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you excited for Mirra Co to come back as potentially a legitimate company, or are you scared that it could turn into something that's kind of a joke? Either outlook is totally understandable, and I think that I've talked about this for long enough, so let's move on. So that brings us into the one piece of sponsorship news that I have to talk about this week, and it's something that there's really not a ton of information around, and it's that Tony Malouf is off of Fit. Nothing's been announced, but he's not on Fit's team page anymore, and there's nothing on his Instagram about it. It's just being talked about, so I figured I would mention it in this news story. So maybe one of you guys knows more about it and can let us know in the comments down below. And I figured that it would be worth mentioning because he just got added to the team like 3 months ago, and it's kind of crazy that he's already off the team, or it would be kind of crazy if he was already off the team from switching from the team manager role to a pro rider role and having a welcome video in January after only a few months. It just seems kind of weird. And that brings us into the contest and jam news for this week, which there are a lot of things to talk about with. First thing of which is Sergio Layos' winning run from the Vans BMX Pro Cup Tour 2019. First stop in Sydney, Australia at 5 Docks Skate Park. Our BMX uploaded his winning run to their YouTube channel, which you can check out in the description below if you want to see it. And I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this, especially after watching the next video, which is the official highlights video from Vans of the event. There's a lot of people in the comments on Sergio's run saying that he shouldn't have won and that other people should have won and other people did better. I don't really know because I haven't watched the entire contest or highlights showing entire runs from the contest, so I can't really say, but what I can say is that in the highlights video from Vans, there are a lot of people doing a lot crazier stuff in this event and in their runs than what Sergio was doing. He was obviously using everything in the bowl, so I don't know if it was being judged as more of a bowl contest. And when you look at the people who won, it was Corey Walsh and Chris James with him, If you watch their riding, obviously they're more of bull riders, so I don't really know and I can't really say because I haven't seen everything, but I'm curious if any of you watched the entire thing. It's also hard to say comparing to the highlights video because the highlights video is just snippets from people's runs, not the entire run. I don't want to take anything away from Sergio because his runs were great. So with that being said, let me know in the comments down below what you think. There's also a BMX Union write-up with all of the results from the event so you can see who won for the men and the women's and any other information that you might want to find. After that, we've got the highlights video from qualifying at the Toyota Triple Challenge in Denver. The main reason that I'm talking about this one is that 1, the finals highlights haven't been uploaded yet, and 2, Mason Ritter. Mason is a friend of mine who absolutely kills it. He went out to this contest and did his normal stuff that he does regularly at the wheel mill, which is stuff that no one else does. I'm talking stuff like bar hop, saran wrap to Superman seat grab, Indian air, stuff that you can only make sense of by watching it. He blew Jamie Bestwick's mind, which is the introduction to the video. I definitely think you guys should check this one out. I'm getting chills just talking about it because it's that awesome to see someone so deserving like Mason getting the credit that he deserves, and all he had to do was go out there and compete. I don't know what the results were for this one, and I'm hoping that there's some finals highlights videos that are uploaded soon. After that, we've got highlights from the uncovered BMX stop in Tokyo, because if you guys didn't know, Van Homan is working with the Olympics out in Tokyo, so him and Brian Kaczynski had an uncovered BMX contest stop, which if you haven't heard of that one, is the amateur contest series that they did last year. I don't know if they're doing a series again, but to enter this contest, you have to be an amateur, which means not paid by a company to ride your bike. They did it in Japan. It was an awesome event, and there's a highlights video of it in the description below if you want to check it out. Speaking of Japan, Fise Hiroshima is going down, I think like right now over in Japan. There's a highlights video from BMX Park qualifying up on Freedom BMX's YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out while we're waiting on finals to go down and to hear the results, you know where to find it. And that brings us into the videos from this week. The first video I want to talk about came out last week, right after the BMX news video, so I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but this video is hilarious, and if you haven't seen it, you better go watch it, because this is a must watch. It's called BMX Time Machine. It features Terry Adams and Aaron Ross. Basically, it's a skit and a concept where Terry and Aaron are old men, and they figure out that the flatland trick called the time machine actually is a time machine, so they go back in time, or they get younger, and they go and do basically an edit after that point. It's seriously an amazing video, and like I said before, you just have to watch this one. After that is another video that I really enjoyed, and that was another in the One Night Stand series that's been coming out from Standard. I don't know if it was just all filmed in one night or if it's actually a series. Either way though, this one features Corey Bradley. The main reason that I want to talk about this one is that Corey does a trick that I don't see anyone else doing right now, and that is after he does any trick he wants, basically, as he's going back into a quarter, he'll land on his front wheel, feather the brakes, and do a pivot 180 down the quarter and end up fakie at the bottom. And it's seriously one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever seen before. And the first time I saw him do it was in person. It legitimately blew my mind, and I think it will yours too if you watch this video. And after that, we've got the first section from Cult's It's Later Than You Think video uploaded online for you guys to watch. The first section is with Chase DeHart, and there's just something so satisfying about a video where the song and the riding and the rider all are like basically like this. This video is so perfectly edited to the song, the filming, Chase's riding, everything just went so well together that it makes an amazing video and so satisfying to watch. Not to mention the fact that Chase DeHart has been in BMX for so long and still produces videos that are this awesome just by being himself. He's not out there learning the latest trendy tricks and whatever else. He's being himself, and finding amazing ways to like accentuate that in the streets. I know that sounds weird to say it like that, but that's what he's doing, and it's so good to watch. One of my favorite parts of this section, and something that I think just sends it that much further over the top on the awesome meter, is how Robbie Morales, the owner of Cult, is in a few of the clips after Chase pulls them, and you can see how genuinely excited he is for Chase, and it's just super awesome seeing it. It made the vibe of the video that much better. And after that, the only other video that I thought was worth mentioning this week, or really there was a lack of videos this week, so there's only one other video to talk about. That was a game of Horst, basically Horst, but in another language, with Felix Prangenberg and Tom Weikert. And that brings us into a whole bunch of bike checks to talk about this week. The first one comes from Powers Bike Shop featuring Latane, Coghill, and it's a bike check with him. After that, we've got 4 bike checks, which are all just lists of parts with pictures of those parts on the bike. We've got Emile Bouwman from Subrosa, Jared Eberwein from Profile, Dylan Steinhardt from Focal Point? Yeah, Dylan Steinhardt from Focal Point, featuring his Tempered Bikes bike, and then Alex Donnachie from BSD. And then in the only product related news from this week, we've got a Pathfinder promo video with Felix Prangenberg from We the People. This is basically a minute and a half or less of Felix riding with a couple pictures of products from the Pathfinder promo at the end. So if you're into Felix's riding, you're probably going to be into this one. Other than that, there's not much promoting the product other than the riding in the video. That brings us into the interview section from this week, which there are a ton of things to talk about. It's kind of crazy when there are more interview type videos and podcasts in a week than there are videos to talk about with high profile people in BMX. It's pretty awesome. The first one here is another Imprimatur BMX podcast from Mike Hinkins, this time featuring Brian Kaczynski, and they're talking about advocacy of BMX and influence and integrity in BMX. And honestly, if there's one thing that I think people should listen to or watch from this week, it's this. It's someone so high profile and legendary in BMX of Brian Kaczynski talking about integrity and advocacy and influence and all of these things within BMX, and just all of the things that make someone a true professional. And it's stuff that I think is kind of ignored right now in BMX and definitely needs to be put at the forefront so that we can make things just look better to get more people involved with BMX, because that's kind of the goal, right? Then after that, Hyper BMX did a day in the life with James Foster, followed by Fit catching up with 8-year-old Caden Cernius that we talked about last week because he had a video last week. Then Red Bull did a really fun video with Matthias Dandois called Camera Roll Roulette, where he literally, exactly what you think, he flicked through the photos, stopped, and then talked about the photo. It's pretty entertaining, pretty cool to see that from someone that we really don't hear that much of as far as like more than riding stuff goes. Then we had another in the Please Be Kind and Rewind series from Dig, this time featuring Felix Prangenberg. And if you hadn't heard of this series before, basically it's just a pro rider talking for like 30 seconds about their favorite video part ever, and then that video part in full playing afterwards. Not much to it, but it's Mike Aiken this time and his part in Electronical, so I'm sure that there's at least a few of you that are going to want to watch this one just to get another look at that video part. Then we got a podcast with Colin McKay. This one is on the Head Angle podcast. We've got Rob Delecky on the Rollback podcast, and I did listen to all of this one. I didn't really know anything about Rob before that other than the fact that he was a photographer, so it was cool to hear a bunch of stories and just hear his mindsets on things being a photographer and someone who's been in BMX for a very long time. Then we've got a video from S&M, which is like an extension of their series on Instagram where someone goes up to Chris and says, "Hey Chris, what's up?" while he's doing something at S&M. If you didn't know, Chris Muller, the owner of S&M, that's who this is with. They basically are doing this on YouTube now, and they did an introductory video where Chris is taking a look at the Behind the Shield book and they follow it up by asking us what we want to see in these Hey Chris, What's Up videos. So if you guys want to leave some input, there's a link in the description below for you guys to go and comment on this video, letting them know what you want to see in future Hey Chris, What's Up videos. I think this is a really awesome concept, and I'm glad that they're continuing it and expanding on it to YouTube, because it's really cool to see companies be more transparent. That's something that I think we definitely need more of within BMX. And the last thing that I want to talk about this week is a video that I did interviewing the BMX in Our Blood's Joe Doherty. Joe does podcasts with so many huge name people in BMX. He does jams, fundraising for people, has raised thousands of dollars just to help other people, and he never asks for anything in return. And no one's ever interviewed him or done a podcast with him with his actual voice. He's done written interviews before, but nothing like a podcast. So I wanted to be the first person to do it. So we caught up at the Wheelmill's Next Generation Jam, which I have a highlights video of as well if you want to check out. But we caught up there and talked for an hour, and it went by super fast. I was only going to do it for a half hour, and then before I knew it, an hour went by. We talked about a lot of really great stuff, and I just wanted to give him a chance to have some of the spotlight that he gives everyone else. So if you want to check that out and learn more about the person behind the BMX in Our Blood podcasts and Facebook notifications blowing up my news video. Either way though, if you want to learn more about the person behind the BMX in Our Blood's podcast, link is in the description below. And that's the last thing I want to talk about in this week's BMX news. If you enjoyed it, or you have a favorite thing that I talked about this week, or thoughts on anything, or thoughts on Mirra Co being for sale, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you're new. I have BMX tips and tricks videos in addition to these news videos. Those come out on Tuesdays, these come out on Fridays, and I have other types of riding videos and streams throughout the week. I want to thank you guys for choosing to spend your time here watching the news video with me, and we'll see you tomorrow for another video. Thanks again for watching, and goodbye.